Get me that signal. We need more power.
I know. Now you've got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. There's gonna be tension.
I mean, I can tell you this about Axel's side of that yes, he's a vampire, but I can say that there's still enough of him on the inside that is determined to fight against
vampires
it.
so much.
Yeah, and still sort of so locked on that single-minded idea of the mission and Vanessa and her, and that's still alive inside of him. So he fights it with everything he's got, but at the same time, if he doesn't beat it, he'll die.
Yeah.
So there's that going on.
Yeah.
And then
And then Doc is just, I felt like she was really riddled with survivor's guilt.
Mm-hmm.
She knows she messed up big time, and she's dealing with that, but at the same time, she's on her own. She doesn't have the hospital. She doesn't have Axel. She doesn't have Vanessa. She doesn't have anybody that she thought that she could trust, and she's on her own. And so she's learning to step up finally, and we don't know if she's going to stab.
It's like the last we see her in season 1, she's walking off upset because she can't become a vampire.
She can't, and so she's just. I feel like she's coming into her own finally.
Is she learning how to be human again, kind of thing, or?
Well, I think Doc has actually always struggled with just being interpersonal, like just starting off there, right?
Yeah.
And she always. And she wasn't very decisive even before, but now she's in a life and death situation on her own, so she's gonna have to step up.
Yeah.
when the writers split the whole group apart, sent everyone in different directions, they allowed themselves this opportunity to build out the world and introduce all these new characters,
And vampires.
and vampires and the mythology surrounding them and the characters' backstories. But part of that too is some characters get to find themselves in situations where they can kind of redefine who they are.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I'm loving it. Yeah, it's just still very surprising too. Every time I get a script, I'm like, what? This is what? Wow. Okay, let's do it. And that's one of the great parts about being on this show is all the twists and turns it takes.
Yeah, they got really ambitious this year, so it was super exciting for everybody in every direction. I love the fact that one of the things that we set up is that the vampires have a very specific goal in mind, particularly Dimitri, and this goal is something that could change the game completely. In terms of him trying to achieve what he wants to achieve and also fight against Vanessa. And once our human characters start to put pieces together and start to realize what that goal is, it becomes this sort of race to this end game. And it just makes some really exciting stuff in there.
I
feel like they're a hugely collaborative group as far as television shows can go. I've worked on shows where it is absolute lockdown. What comes out of the writer's room is like to the letter.
Verbatim.
And it's not that it's all willy-nilly or anything like that. We all respect the text as much as you can, but in terms of the sort of discussion of who these characters are and what you bring to the table to build them out, it's a total collaboration.
Really collaborative. Yeah.
Particularly things like when people are playing vampires, like you had to play one in season 1. I started out season 2 in that mold. Chris is finding his way playing one, and say Dimitri, but all 4 of them are entirely different versions of it, and they allowed for so much room there in terms of the exploration of you could really make it your own. There was no sort of this is what vampires are on Helsing, so act like that.
Yeah.
There's very much not that. There's so many different, as who was saying, vampire sex.
Oh, Mike.
Sex.
The SECTS.
No, vampire sex. Sex.
And more get introduced this year as well. So that's really some of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I want to know, you guys have both had the opportunity to play human and vampire. What do you prefer? Do you prefer playing a vampire or playing a human?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would say I'm about 50-50. When I was playing Vampire Doc, I would lose
It looks fun.
It was a ton of fun to jump around the cage.
Yeah.
I lost my voice every single day. It was very hoarse. It was very deep. And that part, I was like, I don't know.
Very sexy. You got very
It was
raspy.
very sexy. And I've been smoking Camel since I was 16,
darling.
right? Other than losing the voice part, I'd have to say 50-50. Yeah.
I prefer playing a human. Vampire has all kinds of challenges. But I like cracking jokes. And, vampires don't crack a ton of jokes.
A little too serious.
Yeah, they take themselves awfully seriously. So. So I have a bit more fun playing the human stuff. Although some of the things involved in playing the vampire were a fun challenge, for sure.
Playing with lots of blood.
Yeah, trying not to eat various characters.
Other people.
Awesome. Yeah. Everyone seems to be wrapping up. Anyone else?
Yeah, one last question. We already know, we already have a previous answer. Shocking would be one word to describe season 2. How about giving us one word each, how you feel sums up season 2 without saying shocking?
Illuminating.
Okay.
Illuminating.
Roller coaster ride. I guess that's 2 words.
We'll hyphenate.
But
Lots of hyphens.
Lots of hyphens.
yeah, lots of hyphens.
Heavy on the hyphens. Yeah, I mean, it's I just felt like it was there's so much that gets revealed about various characters and what makes them tick.
Their history.
In a surprising way a lot of the time. That was some of my favorite stuff about the season, for sure.
Well, I think that's the thing about Julius. Like his mother was
it was like his rock. Basically.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get to see how in depth that relationship is in season 2, and how far Julius is gonna go. And it's so crazy because I'm chomping at the bit. I want to tell you guys everything, and I can't. Oh, I can't. But it's such a joy for me in season 2, and especially going after Sam and getting revenge for my mother. I think it's going to be really something that you guys are going to be really, really loving. I can't. I can't. All I know is that it's Sam and I get together for an epic scrap, and I really can't get into much more. Believe me, I got the heads. Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. Won't tell anyone.
How far into the season have you filmed, or are you just...
Oh, we're finished. We finished shooting season 2. Yeah, we're all done season 2. I know. That's why I'm like, you guys. I'm chomping at the bit to tell you, and you guys are a little trying to get me.
How many drinks is it going to take?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see how many drinks. Let's get the drinks. I had a blast in season. I don't know if it was more fun, but it was definitely more creative. I always have fun when I'm working. I have a blast no matter how bad my character is. I just love being on set. I love working with the people that I'm around. Van Helsing was a huge family, like that kind of a family, and Neil and the whole cast. I just love being around it, and then switching gears and being Julius has been a blast. Yeah, it's been great.
Being a big family as far as the cast, and going through a period where you weren't sure who the murder was going to be revealed as.
Right.
Was that a little nerve-wracking?
It was.
Sometimes?
It was a little nerve-wracking because no one knew who the dude was, and that was great because they held it from everyone. Like I think they could have told us, but they held it from everyone, which played like no one was really. Everyone was on edge,
Sure.
which was great. So, when we finally found out, everyone kind of went, "What?"
It was pretty helpful because the actors didn't know, so
Yeah.
it was pretty easy to
Yeah.
portray someone who doesn't know.
Exactly, and it was a blast. It was, and just when we did find out, it was a great twist. Anything memorable that happened on set that didn't involve filming?
Yeah, maybe behind the scenes.
I don't know, but the only thing I can say is because Julius is such a I love playing a guy like Julius because he goes that much further than I would go in real life, or the way a good guy would go. And I think good guy or bad guy, he's just willing to go that much further for what he believes in. And so I have to be in a certain state, obviously, before we start shooting. And Missy kept making me laugh all the time. And so we're laughing, or literally giggling and laughing like schoolgirls. Then it's like, okay, we're ready to go. And I can't go now. And she's just giggling in the back. But I had a blast with Missy this year. Yeah, it's been great. Season 2, there's a couple things that have happened. Can't tell you. That was sneaky. That was really sneaky. But the heart in season 1, that was just hilarious to me because it was not only it was like sweet blood, he was like candy, So I was having a blast because I was hungry. We didn't hit lunch at all. So I was like, I'm actually digging this right now. But to everyone, like the extras watching, they were like, I can't even look at that guy. Yeah, and I'm like, this is great. But the season 2, you're gonna dig some stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's everywhere. There were days that when I went home, like I just said, you know what? Like, 'cause we finished shooting, I think it was like 18 hours. I was like, I'm just gonna get in my car and shower at home and go to bed. I didn't even want to be there to get cleaned up. And there was a few nights where I was hoping the police wouldn't pull me over because I was like covered and then sneaking into my house and just showering. It was like the Psycho scene.
And your neighbors were a little curious what might
Yeah, I was just hoping no one saw me. There was a couple nights no one saw me.
If you can describe season 2 in 3 words, what would they be?
How about one word?
Okay.
Shocking.
That works.
Shocking. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a blast. I mean, seriously, I want to tell you guys everything. I just can't. I do. I so do. You're good, man. I can say that I love. Everyone gets an origin story this season, which is really great. Yeah, that to me was really great. So you get to see why they are where they came from, and that to me was something that I was pleasantly surprised at when I read the script. Of going, this is. I love how Julius. People will get to see why Julius is the way he is.
Does that mean we'll see him like pre-vampire?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot,
much.
you guys. Appreciate it. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I knew off the top. It was a big secret on set. Actually, nobody knew who the
So nobody knew who the killer was?
and so I had to lie to all my
So you knew, but nobody else
yeah.
knew?
But
And why did you know, Chris?
because you told me.
Okay.
But no, everyone else was told that they don't know and it might change. So the story on set was we're not sure yet. And everyone got the little close-up of, after they think that they're the killer, and somebody else would. So it went around. They were very.
We were very careful. You know, there were
Very
times
careful.
when we, in post, where we would look at it. You know, the editor makes a cut, and then we make a cut, and where I'd look at it and go, oh, they just said something, and you cut to Chris. And I don't know if that was just in their head or not, but I'm like, we can't do that every time, or they'll figure it out. So it's like, you know, take that one out, but leave that one in, and you know, we were very careful about, because you only have so many suspects,
Yeah.
you know, and so you had to be, and I think we actually did a pretty fair job for
At
the
the
number
same
of
time,
people
though,
we
you
had.
had Sam admitted it was him several episodes before 11, with Muhammad and everything.
But in an
It was
interesting way.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I don't want him kicked out. I'm gonna confess to protect. Was it like I want to protect him, so I'm confessing, or is it?
Exactly, you're not sure.
Because that's when I was like, maybe it is Sam. Like he's flying under the radar. He's this nice guy protecting everything. So that's when that raised my suspicions of Sam. Was right
And I
then.
love that you thought he was a nice guy, because he played a nice guy
He
really
did.
well.
He did until that's seriously. As soon as he was like, "No, it was me. I did it," and I was like, "Did anyone even pick up on that?" So
Cool. Nice. Nice. I mean, because it was interesting because I thought it was important as well that on set nobody knew, because then everyone is going to treat, you're going to make choices based on the fact that they know
right.
subconsciously as actors. So it was good. I thought it was a real gift that Neil was very supportive of that thing that nobody knows. So it was a good place to be.
What can you tell him? Well, I think he touched on it briefly. I don't know if you were in the room with us or not, but it is, you know, the devil's playground that this man has stumbled into. For a guy with the inclinations that he has to have been turned and have the abilities, now have his hearing back and have increased strength and kind of is now living outside the boundaries of normal, moral human behavior, it's just a free-for-all. So we've created a kind of Garden of Eden for him, where for everybody else it's hell on earth. So it's an interesting dichotomy between same place, how different people feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a great time. There's no problem. You know, now he doesn't have to hide for Sam anyway, which I think is interesting. I mean, because I don't know. I think of anyone who's involved in, you know, human beings who like to go hunting and take that step up from, okay, we like to think of ourselves as the apex predator, but are we really? Well, we really are when we have a high-powered rifle. Then we're at the top of the food chain. There's just no competition. Whereas Sam has had to hide that part of himself his whole life, and now he just gets to. He's number one. He's at the very top, and he's having a great time. Until you know, Kelly comes along, then there's a risk factor that comes into the storytelling that is very interesting how it's dealt with. It's not as obvious. What was written is not as obvious as we might think. How that climax comes to be.
And I guess as a human and as a vampire, I don't think it's giving anything away to say that a lot of his concerns have remained the same. Mm-hmm. His connection to Muhammad hasn't changed. When he first turned, and they were the fighting and trying to stay alive or away from him, that became, you know, just physical. But I don't think his emotional world has changed a great deal. So, but he's changed as a person. So, how do you deal with that? You know, that's one of the places we tried to take that character. Is if we put those characters back together, how will they respond to each other?
Yeah.
So, what are we going to see when Sam and Julius finally meet? Like, how? Because obviously Sam's his mother, so I assume it's going to be quite a rivalry, some retaliation.
I think it's safe to say that they do meet up.
Okay.
There is and it's again, it's dealt with in a very interesting way.
Okay.
It's not what I was expecting, and that's the interesting part of this is that it's not what is expected.
I think that's part of the long. It's fair to say it's part of the long game as well. I would be lying to you to say that that's going to come to a climax.
Okay.
There's, you know, lots of people cross paths with different groups than they started out with last year. You know, when they are fractured and then they rejoin together, and then very quickly they're pulled in different directions, and new alliances are made, and
very few people get what they want.
Yeah. The apocalypse ends up being just like life, except it has vampires as well. Shitty, but now we've added vampires. We do. Syfy found out like within like a couple of weeks that 2 different stars.
Winona Earp.
Yeah. And I think we were the second, and they went, "What are you kidding me?" You know, and so they were.
They're writing it into Winona Earp, so it's
they did, and so with us, they were like, "Yeah, you know, we really need a vampire-killing woman who's not pregnant." So, you know, not having the ability of like Scandal, they have large purses and you know, and shoot through a Coke bottle most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, it was hard to find a way to camouflage that.
A great stunt double. That's
great stunt double.
Holly Rosinski was amazing. How she doubles so perfectly.
Yeah.
Kelly.
So we had to lean on that, and then also I think even the idea of bringing in Missy, you know, characters that we thought about even further down the line, we had to suddenly go, okay, how long will we have Kelly for?
Yeah.
And how will we retell this story? Because we found out like about 4 days before we were supposed to pitch to the network, here's the story. And Chad very underplayed, hey guys, guess what? We thought like, oh, something wonderful has happened. Kelly's pregnant. And we were like,
it's wonderful.
Trombone, like wonderful, but let me look through my notes. No, she was not pregnant at all in the show. So we had to really go back and refigure some things. So it kept it exciting, but definitely had to keep it under wraps.
Okay.
So you can watch for the times where you go.
I will. I'm going to be looking for it now.
Yeah, it'll be kind of fun.
Oh, look, she found a big coat.
Awesome.
So luckily the winter and that sort of thing helped.
Yeah, it helps, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Awesome.
Don't turn sideways.
All the shots.
Ever. Yeah. Always come toward the camera.
All right, I think. Can you tell us about your character's journey in season 2?
What's my character's name?
Dimitri.
How old is he?
Old.
That's true. Oh, you're right. You're better than I thought.
I was just asking what his relationship with Rebecca is going to be like going into season 2.
Well, I think, the most interesting thing about going into season 2, I think, is the broader storyline, which drives a lot of the show forward, not just characters. Is this something the vampires know that the humans learn, and then there's a race to get there, and whoever gets there first will have some serious domination. So I think that conception by the writers, to me, is fascinating because you see it underplay a lot of the decisions. Dimitri, in his sort of strange isolation idea that he is still a poet warlord guy, is a blast to play. And, the incestuous things with his sister, and then his partner Rebecca, who he considers everybody slightly below him, from Julius to Rebecca to anybody else that might be an elite vampire. I think there's a narcissism that I think is really fascinating and fun to watch in Dimitri. I don't know if I have the same quality. You could tell me later, but it might be there.
She's awesome. When I read the 2 scripts, I was so excited to come onto this show. She grew up in a family that believed that the uprising was going to happen. So, as a teenager, her dad was already training her, which I looked crazy, and there were rumors about me, and that was like a really impactful time in my life that was negative until the uprising happened, and then all of a sudden, I mean, yeah, like, totally. It's like I found my purpose. I knew what my destiny was, and it was very simple. So, it's really, I have a lightness about the whole thing where it's really stressful and kind of crazy for everybody else because there's such a threat for their life, and I just don't feel that same thing.
Because you're prepared for it.
Totally.
Awesome.
What's it like for you joining the series in the second season?
It's intimidating to do that. It's the first time I've done this before, and I didn't know how it was going to be. I didn't know the people. I didn't know how they worked, how the set was going to be. None of it, and you only get a couple episodes. You don't even know how it's going to end. And so, I was nervous, but at the same time, I was really excited to join them. And Neil was awesome on the phone, and I just was. It was kind of a no-brainer. Kind of read it, and I was like, yeah, of course I want to play this character. And what his plans were, I was really excited about, and everybody was very welcoming. And they're collaborators, from the producers to the writers to the crew, and all of the actors, you talk it out and you figure it out, and everybody wants to come and make the best thing that they possibly can in a crazy short amount of time. So it was nuts. It really was, and it was a grueling time to film. I had a really lovely idea of Vancouver. I'm from there, and I forgot how horrible it is to film outside. Within a week, I was like, what? This sucks. But it looks great. Yeah, I knew that I knew what I'd signed on for, the amount of episodes I was going to do, but I didn't know exactly where things were going, and I also didn't have all the information either. Like, I was getting to set, and they were changing some things too, and I was like, oh, I thought that. They're like, nah, it's going to be that. And I'm like, cool, okay. So, again, that's kind of fun. That's kind of exciting to me to see how everything comes together when everybody's, in their different departments are coming at you, and you're like, okay, I'm like a weirdo robot where it's like everybody just puts their information into me, and I just compute and then give out everything that I can with the information that I've been given. And it was fun. I'm a ninja. I mean, badass. I didn't have time. No. Like, the first day that I showed up to work, we were straight into a fight scene that was 5 hours. I didn't leave set, like the set, for 3 hours. I was just drenched in sweat, and just the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I was like, oh, if this is months of this, like, I better learn quick right now. But again, it was like part of the thrill, I think, for me. And I'm pretty competitive, so I'm like, okay, bring it on. I mean, don't worry, I broke down, in the bath. some nights, you know what I mean? I'm like, ow, I don't have what it takes. And then Monday I'm like, cool, yeah, I do. I'm fine.
I'm taking out.
Yeah.
Now, as far as someone who's coming in to a cast and a show that's had the season or two under its belt,
Yeah.
a lot of times those actors have kind of preconceptions about what they're stepping into. What are some of the ways you were very pleasantly surprised when you joined the cast? When you joined the show?
You mean in terms of how they work with each other and I think it's really interesting. Everybody has a different style of working. Everybody comes from a different place. You know, Riki has theater, and so the way she presents herself in her process is really fascinating. Paul's super different. Jonathan, I would say me and Jonathan probably have the most similar way of working, which is you just figure it out in the moment. You know, like, and we're just very quick and kind of like relate in between and can joke around and do whatever, but then, you know, you just get down to it and you figure it out, you know. But I've kind of learned from everybody, and it was really interesting to see how they did things, and it really affects their character. I could see how their personal ways of going about things really was injected into their character on screen, and I always find that super fascinating anyway. I think it's really neat. They were all really kind to me, which I appreciated. You know, really supportive. And I mean, it's pretty nice, you know.
Right.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was fun to kind of jump off of each other and feel the different dynamics. And I mean, my character, because she's so sarcastic, and you know, the threat isn't the same for her. We had to be really careful that I wasn't taking away the severity of what was going on, because it can't be a joke.
Right.
Except I'm saying a lot of jokes. You know what I mean? So there was just like that fine line of making sure that there was still like very grounded. I think everybody works really hard to make sure that it's still grounded, even though it's vampires. That was the longest answer I think I've given.
But it was a great answer.
What was your favorite weapon that you got to like play around with?
I mean, I have 2 swords, so
It's already badass.
yeah, it totally is, except for the fact that it makes kind of no sense. I have them in my back, so I look really cool until you're like, huh, and you like can't, it's impossible.
How many
you can't
retakes
take
did
them
they
out.
have to do on
You
your
can't
back?
literally take it out. So it's just like you have to cut, and it's like you take out the sword that's cut this short in order for me to be like this, and then it's like, okay, swap the sword. And I'm like, come on, this is like taking all my mojo away. I think that's really like, I got pretty good at that part, was just the swords. I mean, that's kind of my thing. Can't really remember anything else that I use necessarily. I think a lot of other characters kind of use whatever they can at their disposal. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you know, threatened when anybody goes to take my weapon. I'm like, like, will not leave my stuff. You know, it's like my protection.
Season 2 picks up where we left off on season 1, with the confrontation between Vanessa, Rebecca, and the reveal that Vanessa's daughter, her quest, her modus operandi, the whole reason for being is a vampire. So that is the entry point into the story.
Okay, so there's no time jump or anything. It just picks up right there.
There's a little tease about another place within our universe and all of that stuff to tease us somewhere else, but then we are solidly back in where we left off, with the Resistance attacking the Citadel and Vanessa confronting Rebecca and discovering her daughter's a vampire. And I mean, we're standing on the shoulders of giants with Van Helsing, the pedigree that was established in Bram Stoker in terms of the formation of the initial mythology. I mean, there's throughout history there's been many deviations in and out of that path, but I think our initial premise that Vanessa bites back and can turn vampires to human is such a strong entry point. And it's a responsibility to live up to that pedigree, and we take it seriously. So, hoping the audience will enjoy season 2. I think we knocked it out of the park this season. I think everybody who's in post-production and all that stuff that's following the script, everybody's really compelled. We really have something great this year, and we really hope the audience enjoys it.
Get me that Syfy. We need more power.